Iceberg meme images are a veritable plethora of information you never usually come across. Researching them, however, can be a pain in the arse, which is why it's good to have turbo versions with far too much time on their hands do it all for you, leading me on to the big bad Jojo Iceberg. But personally, I think this particular iceberg is missing some entries, so I'll add them myself as we go along. And without further ado, let's, pardon the pun, dive in. Delightfully devilish. This entry is talking about the fact that Hirohiko Araki, the author and daddy of JoJo, looks like he never ages. Man is 60 years old. 60! This refers to a somewhat old meme about the fact that the Part 6 anime is taking ages to be released. It's more because people want Part 6 over and done so we can get to the beast that is Steel Ball Run. This could be an iceberg of its own, as Araki likes to introduce aspects, then conveniently forget about them. Some of the worst offenders are the fact that stands can shrink down to the size of an ant, as seen in the Steely Dan fight in Part 3, or that maybe Joseph in Part 4 could have used Hermit Purple to very easily find out who Kira was. And there's also that time that he kind of just left Koichi in Italy in Part 5. This one's a kinda bad meme based on when Joseph tries to tell Jotaro about Dio's power in Part 3, but is cut off. All the variations involve cutting in super loud versions of John Cena's theme and other unfunny tired memes. Not a good one. It's the meme song. Jotaro has dolphins on his hat in Part 4 and is a marine biologist. And because the JoJo fanbase loves to milk a joke dry, you get this. This did, however, result in Jotaro being banned from being added to the list of famous marine biologists on Wikipedia, so that's something. This one definitely stems from the fact that not only can Araki not draw dogs, all the dogs in JoJo seem to die in absolutely horrendous ways. This one's probably just true. It's because he's the most moe. Absolutely shocked this one wasn't included in the iceberg, as this meme did what all memes do when they're truly about ready to die. Bleed into normie territory. Parodies of the Part 2 ending, cutting it in a roundabout, usually before disaster befalls someone. Not gonna lie, I kinda like this one. Dio is his dad, and he's two Englishmen fused together, and his mum is Japanese. His stepdad is Italian, meaning that his family blood is not passata. Somewhat of a throwaway line in Part 1 is the basis for this fan theory, where Jonathan says his ghost will forever haunt Dio. This obviously means that he will be fighting him as Star Platinum, which makes absolutely no sense because Dio uses Jonathan's body. So does that mean that Jonathan is technically fighting himself? Yeah, I'm not buying this one. The man has a skull goatee. You can't argue with this logic. This one is clearly false, as the JoJo fanbase was fucked from the start. There are a few images in the manga, which was released in 1989 through 1992, where there are allusions of a 9/11-esque event. However, if you think about it, in-universe Boingo should have known 9/11 was going to happen and didn't tell anyone. Inside job? Question mark? Kakyoin has a little speech about how he wants to bang Jotaro's mom and marry her or something. This one line was enough to breed so many jokes about Kakyoin wanting to fuck MILFs. Legend. This one pertains to the fact that Rohan, in theory, should never lose a fight, as all he has to do is have his opponent see his stand once, write "guess I'll die now" on their Facebook. This theory falls apart once you factor in remote stands and delinquents who are literally too angry to see. This is referring to the early Part 4 manga, before Jojo went through the full art style change of buff Barra men into little twinks. Josuke from the first few chapters was big beef. I've got to include this one as it's the funniest thing. From vibrators of Star Platinum and Silver Chariot to big Barra titty mouse pads, it's got every base covered. Kind of a shitty fan theory that Bites the Dust power doesn't in fact cause a direct time loop reset, but instead jumps to a universe where that person doesn't exist but everything else has happened regardless. I don't know, I could only find Reddit pages and a Jojo wiki entry for this, so it seems pretty bunkum to me. This is definitely pointing to the fact that the KKK are involved in the backstory of Pucci. Pucci hires a private investigator who turns out to be the KKK, who then kills his sister because her father is black. Yeah, actually, you know what? This point might be onto something. This is the far superior Kuchi, which people enjoy because of his horrible rat-like qualities. From the Rohan OVA, hence the name. This one's a really stupid theory that the man who rescued Josuke when the car got snowed in Part 4 is some sort of alternate universe version of Josuke. This theory is supported by the fact that he looks like Josuke, including the pomp. Literally everyone who thinks this is true likes to conveniently ignore the fact that Josuke literally says that he grew a pompadour because of the guy who saved his life, which is why he gets so mad when people insult his hair. Okay. This one seems like a meme entry, but he does have 2 white siblings, and his mother is white. His father might be black, but is never shown. The Pucci family is Sicilian, therefore the theory goes that he just inherited the dark-skinned genes, whilst his brother inherited the light-skinned genes. This one could actually be correct, despite being 100% memed here. Okay, this one is pretty well known and is true. Fugo was originally supposed to fight the gang in Rome with Secco instead of chocolate, which if you think about it makes a lot of sense considering Fugo leaves the series rather unceremoniously. The fact that Chocolate's stand ability is pretty much the same as Fugo's, and the active betrayal would work nicely into the upcoming Silver Chariot Requiem fight. However, Araki allegedly didn't want to do this because the idea of a close friend betraying someone depressed him greatly. Therefore, he just decided for Fugo saying, "Aight, I'm out." Technically, following the rules of Echo's Act 2, he can stop time as long as he knows how to write the sound effect which stops time. The dubstep fart of Dio's Zawado is probably the closest, but there's no way Kuchi could possibly know how to replicate that noise. Honestly, Act 2's power is amazing, and I'm kinda sad it wasn't used for more fights. This is literally what it sounds like. Fans have been making very solid themes for Part 7 and Part 6 characters, as well as suggesting openings and endings. Not much more to this. This is an infamously terrible fan subgroup. That was pretty much the only way to read Part 4 and Part 5 back in the day. Translated from Japanese to Chinese to English, it's so bad it spawned many memes, just on how bad they were. Then they got their nickname of Dwang subs from this image. They made a slight resurgence when Part 3 was airing in the form of meme subs to complement the anime, but pretty much everyone was over them by that point. Still holds a good place in JoJo history though. It's a stand that could destroy the known universe. Part 6 is set in 2012. There's your tenuous link. All I could find that actually linked the two together was an unsourced TV tropes entry, so I'm guessing this one is bunkum. However, I did find that Made in Heaven was going to be called Stairway to Heaven, but was changed. That's more interesting than this fact. This one's probably a subversion of the Joshua is the main protagonist of Part 8 theory, which is kind of based on the fact that what's happening to Joshua is exactly what happened to Jonathan in Part 1, in that an adopted brother, Dio in Part 1, Gappy in Part 8, is ruining his life slowly but surely by first stealing his girl and then his money. The only villainous thing Joshua ever did was this haircut. This one comes from the fact that all the members of the Higashikata family have King in their stand name, like the hilariously named Nut King Cole and Speed King. Therefore, this family is where the AU King Crimson should be. I'm not too sure about this one, but it's most likely a reference to the fact before his fight in Part 4, he is shown in photo form and he's a sort of tall, handsome, Chad looking motherfucker. And then his actual fight starts and you see he's some sort of little goblin freak, like a sick game of Jojo Catfish. Bad meme referencing his Metallica fight, where the man fires out about 10 gorillion gallons of his ragu-stained Italian blood. This one is directly referencing an edit of an interview Araki did. Despite there being absolutely no proof that this is what he said, it was taken as gospel, and there are still a few absolute brainlets who think this is legit. You'd think people would have noticed it's fake because last time I checked, Jojo wasn't the main reason for the LGBT movement, just the big increase in cocks. This one is probably true, but unconfirmed. Johnny was married to Rina Higashikata, and due to her illness of her skin folding like origami, was taken to her hometown of Morio. Then the events of the side story called Morio Town Year 1901 show the fate of Johnny, resulting in him dying and being buried in the estate, most likely at the shrine. This one's a theory relating to the Ginkgo leaves on Shakedown Road from Part 8. The leaves have no apparent user, but have access to a stand called Les Fleurs. Fan theories involve longer reaches than Stretch Armstrong, but it's related to Johnny infusing a pile of Ginkgo leaves with his Tusk Act 4. This means the leaves can move using the power. This one feels closer to a hot meme than a fan theory to me. This one is not a level 4 meme. David Pro are usually good ass animators, but they have a tendency to let a lot of quality frames slip through during airing of Jojo. So this one's kinda correct. The life shot is what Jono hits Bruno with at the start with the feel the slow dull pain, and that was only a 2 times amplification. So adding on to the fact that Gold Experience Requiem is an infinitely powered up life shot, it would give it the effect listed on the JoJo wiki. If the opponent is killed by Gold Experience Requiem, then they will continuously experience death, as they will die but repeatedly return to point 0, the point immediately before the process of death. Through this ability, Gold Experience Requiem creates a new reality. So an infinite extra power could cause more reality. It's possible. It's not as much of a meme as it sounds. I think a special shout out is required for the infamous Jojo Agogo art book, which contains a few images that require showing. Killer Queen getting with the world, and the very cursed three-legged Jono. Alright, now we're getting to the real juicy memes. This is another one linked to the fact that all the Higashikata stands are called King. Gappy is the protagonist and therefore the King, aka Elvis. I will admit this one is a bit of a stretch. The Phantom Blood OVA is infamously non-existent, and that's because Araki saw it and thought it was absolutely dogshit. However, this is almost certainly referring to the Stardust Crusaders OVA, which however was attacked by Muslim groups because there's a scene where Dio is seen reading the Quran for some reason. And people thought that the main villain reading from a holy text of the Muslim faith might have been misconstrued as a bit offensive. That plus a lot of the fights in this section take place on the rooftop of mosques was going to lead to more complaints. This is one of those baseless rumours that seems to have just spread. I personally blame meme lords on Twitter, but this was apparently confirmed by Araki himself. I've looked over the entire internet, accessing the deepest, darkest, deep web forums like Reddit, and I've never found the original source for this claim. It's a load of shit. Nope, it's just a titty cover on his suit. This one is explained by the geopolitical implications of Catholicism accepting a foreign entity into the mainstream media of Western nations and subjugating propaganda into the minds of mindless sheeple who accept anything thrust down their throats. Nah, I'm messing with you, this one's bullshit. There's absolutely no basis for this one. Annasui absolutely was a woman in the first appearance. Foo Fighters even has a throwaway line later on referencing this. I guess Araki just didn't give a fuck and hoped no one would notice? Oh, but we did. This one's absolutely baseless. I'm pretty sure the FBI aren't even mentioned in JoJo whatsoever. This is possibly a reference to the St. Valentine's Massacre in 1929, which was propagated by the FBI and has Valentine in the name. I don't know, I'm probably just not accessing the correct parts of the JoJo hive mind for these. Literally 3 seconds of sweet, sweet fuzzy screen time. I'm not entirely sure what this entry is even meant to be about, because Star Platinum's The World is a pretty major plot point in Part 3. Like, it's literally the last part of the part. It could be referencing this janky anime screenshot? Potentially? I don't know. Maybe this was to test me specifically. Who knows? This one's a meme, but it's probably a little bit of a reference to the old paradox of, if an anime character draws an anime, are they drawing real life or anime? So maybe in JoJo universe that's just what drawings look like. Therefore that's what in-universe anime looks like. This one is a bizarre theory that Dio doesn't actually stop time, but rather emanates a strong placebo effect out of himself using his vampire powers that makes everyone think they're stopped in time. This could go partially towards why Jotaro is able to just break out of it. It's really stupid, but maybe. That's a good image, right? Back in about 2013 era on /a/ on 4chan, people were told to save that image as a .js file and view it. What happened was that a virus would auto-install and thus cause a screamer on your PC. Due to Chinese whispers, this made people believe that simply looking at this image of Araki eating a donut could infect your PC. Of course, simply viewing an image can... I wouldn't scream at you guys, come on now. If you have an IQ of at least 10,000, this one doesn't even need explaining. Other than being one of 3 bizarre Team Fortress 2 references in this iceberg, there's nothing really to talk about this one. Maybe going into one of the wall holes will make you like,
fucking VB, long neck.
I'm not entirely sure if it's possible to be a bootlegger for JoJo, but this entry possibly indicates that it is. An infamously terrible fight which may have spawned a meme like this so people can ironically like it. Kinda like those Beatles fans who say their favourite album is Revolver. This entry is referring to a doujin where Kakyoin gets fucked by a horse reincarnation of Jotaro. Not to be confused with the doujin where Kakyoin gets fucked by a dolphin reincarnation of Jotaro. Part of me says to not share the source for these, but who am I to gatekeep weird JoJo fetish art? This one is almost identical to the Annasui one. First time Hot Pants was shown, she looked like a man. However, unlike the Annasui entry, this one is actually kinda correct because Hot Pants was acting as a man to enter the Steel Ball Run's race and spy as an agent. This entry is most likely just memeing the first appearance, however. I really don't think this one is true, but it is a surprisingly popular theory. The link between Gappy and Damo is there, as it's shown in some of the flashbacks, but I don't think these two men look anything alike. I personally think this might be an early design of Jobin. Maybe. While I was researching this, I did find some information that I'm sure has been shared on Darknet WikiLeaks involving the supposed suicide of several high-ranking Illuminati members who all had MyAnimeList page URLs tattooed on their thighs, all of which linked to different animated parts of JoJo. Followed by the Pizzagate scandal, further information was released showing the use of JoJo to indoctrinate and placate small infants to be absconded by Mossad sleeper agents and either sold to Epstein for his island or forced to work at David Pro animating JoJo until the activation word is said, when the child will die immediately. This one is obviously 100% a meme, but I did find a fan page for a part 9 called Crazy Noisy Israel, so that's something. This one could possibly be true, as it explains how Okuyasu didn't die, even though it's explicitly stated at the start of part 4 that Crazy Diamond can't bring back people to life. Okuyasu was only dead for a few seconds, whereas Josuke's granddad was dead for a long time. Holds a little bit of weight, but personally I think it's just reading a bit too much into the power. Sandman is a cool part 7 villain. They all are, because part 7 is a beast. And the only thing I could find Valve related was a Team Fortress 2 weapon. Considering this is 2 of 3 Team Fortress 2 references in this iceberg, I'm pretty sure this is the link. Considering the Sandman was released in Team Fortress 2 in 2009, and Sandman's Fight in Steel Ball Run was 2006, I'm gonna guess this one's not true. The 1993 OVA dub is really fucking hard to find, but if the 2000s OVA is anything to go by, the dub is really, really bad.
Joestar-san, the engine on the left side has caught fire.
What the?
I'll fucking kill you!
This is therefore a side-splittingly ironic entry to this iceberg, and it is important to remember they don't exist, don't kid yourself. The JoeJoniums are bundled volumes of parts redone with modern JoJo art. Twinks! Good fan art might fool you, but there is no official release. Yet. This manga cap is from a bizarre spin-off made by fucking Clamp. Really, this manga only gets more strange from this point on. Jorge Joestar is a whole other level of craziness. Cars manages to relearn how to use stands because he just remembers. Sex Pistols is now just a group of trans volleyball players. And there's a stand called NYPD Blue that is just a policeman. Cars manages to combine Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap and Bites the Dust to reset the timeline 35 times to clone himself, and even I'm starting to think I'm making this up. Yeah, I've met enough Italians to know that this is just how they are with each other. Nothing gay about this, boys. Moving on. Okay, so this is most likely to do with the shift in tone and art style that came with Part 4, and Part 4 started in 1992. Instead of Araki maybe being able to shift his storytelling ability, a far more big-brained idea is that he died and was replaced by Ikara Okihiri, a man obsessed with creating a slice of life out of JoJo characters. Other than a few similarities, such as the snail transformations in Part 6, and the walleyes looking like the "this hole was made for me" fault lines, Ito and Araki's manga style isn't even that similar. But it's just similar enough for people to try and desperately link them together, probably due to the fact that they're both very popular. Absolutely no credibility on this one, I'm afraid. Whilst this one sounds like another dumb meme, think about it. What if the universe has already reset in the 2012 prophecy and we don't know because the universe has reset? What if our whole life has been a figment of a greater power and we are simply cursed to suffer? Actually, I've just thought, this one can't be real because Florida isn't real. Next. Maybe it's just condensed milk, you know. Instead of indulging another Team Fortress 2 reference, I'm going to highlight a different crazy theory I found that states that Mikitaka and Polpo are both aliens of the same race, both of which have the ability to shapeshift, both have stupid names, and both are allergic to the sound of sirens. Much to think about. A little bit of a scary accusation, but totally unfounded. I've seen a few other Iceberg memes use this X is a pedo ring, so I'm guessing it's some sort of meta meme within Iceberg memes. I think I have been completely debated. He's not gay, he's just Italian. We've been over this before. Well, kids, it was a long boy, but we've made it to the end. I apologize for butchering every single Japanese name in this video. I hope you enjoyed the journey and learned something. I never make content like this, but it was fun, so who knows what the future holds? Who knows?